Thank you very much to welcome you to Zone African Motives. Today, I want us to look at Business Studies Grade 11, whereby we are going to do the human resource activities, that is term 4 notes that I want us to look at right now. So let us be together from the start of this presentation to the end of it. And let us make sure that we are going to share with others. So without wasting much time, let us attend to our business of today, where we are going to talk about the human resource function. So now we are going to start with the recruitment now, the meaning of recruitment. We are going to start with what? The meaning of recruitment. So when you talk of recruitment, we are talking about the process of attracting suitable people to apply for a job. That's what we mean. When you talk of what recruitment, we are talking about it's what the process of attracting suitable people or candidates to apply for a job. To apply for a job. To apply for a job. So that is that. For example, we can talk about a school advertises a new make an advertisement for a new teacher. So they have that post of a new teacher. So that's being attracting suitable people to apply for a job. A school advertises for a new teacher. That is that when you're talking about what? A recruitment. So like it says, recruitment is the process used by business to identify vacancies in the business and then attract suitable candidates for it, like we've said. So it aims at finding candidates who have necessary knowledge, experience, qualification to fill the vacancy. So we want people with necessary skills to do what? To do the job. People who are qualified. If we are looking for a maths teacher, we want someone who can be able to deliver the mathematics. Someone with knowledge of maths. Someone who has been teaching somewhere, who has experience, let's say, who has that qualification in short. So that is that. Business may choose, now the business may choose to use internal or external method of recruitment, depending on the requirements of the vacancy. So it depends on the requirement of vacancy. So sometimes it will force us to go out because the current employees or group of employees that we're having, maybe they don't have that skill or they cannot manage to fill in that post. Or you'll find that they qualify, then you can recruit internally for people who are even familiar about the organizational culture and stuff like that. So these are two methods that we can go for depending on the requirements of the vacancy. So it is an ongoing process as employees leave their jobs for other jobs or get promoted or retire as new technological skills are required. So that is that. So it is an ongoing process. So it is an ongoing process, like as it says, people they do leave job for better jobs, or maybe they are to retire, or there is promotions, they are to be promoted. So it means it is ongoing process. So we have to go for the recruitment. So hope we are together. So now let us move on. Now we are on recruitment procedure. So now we are on recruitment procedure. That's where we are now, recruitment procedure. So with recruitment procedure now, this is where I know we're talking about, we are talking about where we are going to first start by preparing a job analysis. That is that you prepare job analysis. You prepare job analysis. And we know the components of job analysis is job description and job specification. Job description and job specification. So that is that. So you are to first, when you're talking about the recruitment procedure, first make sure that you're going to prepare job analysis, where we know for sure that the components of job analysis are job description, job specification. This is where now it is going to explain what the job involves. It explains what the job involves, what skills are needed. Because when you talk about job description, you're talking about the duties that are going to be performed. But the job specification, we know very well that you're talking about skills that are needed, experiences, qualifications that are needed. So when you are going through the recruitment, that is the first thing that you are to go for, job analysis. What are the duties that are going to be performed and the skills that are needed for that are needed for such duties to be performed. So that is that. Also, we are going to try by all means to do what you call human resource manager initiates recruitment. That is where you're going to start the process of finding what the candidates. And also you're going to choose external or internal recruitment. You're going to choose between the two, whether you're going for external or internal recruitment. That's when you can say choose internal or external recruitment. Recruitment. That is that. Wherever you decide whether to look for candidates, you promote the current employee internally or advertise outside externally. Then you decide when you are looking for candidates whether you are going for the current employees that you have, whereby now you're going to advertise internally or you go outside. So that is that. Then from there, after that, you advertise what the vacancy. Then you advertise the vacancy. Then you advertise the vacancy, meaning to say you inform potential applicants through the media. For example, place an ad in the local newspaper or company intranet. So that is that. So like it says here under recruitment procedure, it says prepare job analysis, like I've said there, which includes job specification and job description. Here we have said we are talking about the duties that are going to be performed by our incumbent. Here we are talking about what skills that are needed or qualifications, experiences. So the human resource manager should prepare job description in order to identify recruitment needs so that you are going to know the recruitment needs. The human resource manager should indicate job specification, qualifications that are needed for that position, for that post. So the job description and key performance areas to attract suitable candidates. A decision whether to recruit internally should be made to identify suitable candidates from within the business. Like we've said, you're going to choose whether you are to recruit internally or externally. So that is that. So if internal recruitment is unsuccessful, then the external recruitment should be considered. So if recruitment whereby you want to go to recruit internally, but you find out that it's unsuccessful, you don't have those people who can fill in that post, then you want to go externally. If the external recruitment is done, the relevant recruitment source should be selected. That is where now we can make use of agencies, recruitment agencies, tertiary institutions, or newspapers. That's when we are saying now you advertise a vacancy. You advertise what? A vacancy. That's what it means. So the advertisement should be prepared with relevant information. Is it the name of the company, contact details, contact person, and the job details? So place the advertisement in the appropriate media that will ensure that the best candidates apply. So these are the recruitment procedure. These are the recruitment procedure. So hope we are together on that. So now let us move on to a difference between job description and job specification. Difference between job description and job specification. So we are to differentiate the two. Like we have said, when you're talking about job description, it explains duties. Job description explains what duties. It explains duties. We are talking about a job what? Description. It explains duties, it or responsibilities, and conditions of job, and conditions of job, and conditions of job. That's the job a description. For example, we can talk about a driver must transport goods, keep logbooks, and maintain the vehicle. That is the duties of what? Of a driver. Transport goods, keep logbooks, maintain the vehicle. That is his or her job description. So as it says here, it describes the responsibilities, like I've said, and duties of a specific job. Written description of the job and its requirements. So there should be a written description of the job, like a driver is supposed to transport goods, keep logbooks. That should be in writing. Describes key performance areas for a specific job. Example, job title. The working conditions, like I've said, that also it explains what the conditions of job and the relationship of the job with other jobs in the business. So that's when you're talking about a job description. But when you're talking about job specification now, when you're talking about job specification, we are talking about skills, qualifications, personal traits required. That's when you're talking about what? Job specification. We are talking about job specification explains what? It explains skills, qualifications, and personal traits required. And personal traits required. That's what job specification. For example, a driver must have a valid license. You see, that's a requirement. Must have what? 2 years experience. Now we're talking about what? The experience. And be reliable. That's when we're talking about job specification. So it says, it specifies the minimum acceptable skills, personal qualities, and qualifications needed for a job. It is a written description, it's a written specification, specific qualification and skills and experience needed for the job. So that should be in writing as well, where we are saying our driver must have what skills, the minimum accepted skills. You must have what? A valid license. Also, you must have 2 years experience. So those should be in writing, written description of specific qualification. It also describes key requirements of the person who will fill the position, e.g., formal qualifications, willingness to travel, or work unusual hours. So hope we are together on this, on these differences of job specification and job description. So let us move on. So let's move on to other. Let's move on to types or methods of recruitment. Types or methods of recruitment. Types or methods of recruitment. So we know for sure, we know very well that we have what? Internal recruitment. As it says, it refers to the use of internal sources to advertise vacancies inside what? Inside the business. That is when you are recruiting what? Internally. Filling vacancy from inside the company. That is the internal recruitment where we are saying it's filling vacancies, filling vacancies from inside the company. Inside the company. That's you're talking about what? The internal recruitment. So, for example, that is whereby now you are promoting a cleaner to store supervisor. You see, that is when you are recruiting internally. So that is that. So now we have the sources of internal recruitment now. Sources of internal recruitment. So they are talking about internal emails. Internal emails. That is vacancies announced to staff via email. We are talking about vacancies announced to staff. Vacancies announced to staff via email. Via email. Now we have what? Word of mouth. With word of mouth, now employees tell each other about the vacancies. Employee tell each other about the vacancies. About the vacancy. That is that. That is through the word of mouth. Or another one is a business newsletter. This as well, what? One of the sources of recruitment when you're recruiting internally. So it's one of the sources of internal recruitment, business newsletter. So vacancies posted in company's newsletter. Vacancies posted in company's newsletter. In company newsletter. So that is that. Also, we can talk about the internal referrals. Internal referrals. So with internal referrals, employee recommend a friend. Employee recommend a friend. Recommend a friend. Or colleague already working there. Or colleague already working there. That is that. Also, we are talking about notice board of business. Notice board of business. This is whereby now the vacancy displayed on staff notice board. The vacancies are displayed on a notice board. That is when you're talking about what? Notice board of the business. Also, we have what? Internal bulletins. This is official circulars within what? Within the company. These are the official circulars within the company. Or we can talk about recommendation of current employees. That is where we can say a manager recommending an existing worker. So you have been recommended by an employee within the organization. Then we have a headhunting within the business. So This is where we are selecting a talented employee for promotion. Hope we understand these sources of internal recruitment. Then we can come to the advantages as well as the disadvantages of this type of or this method of recruitment, which is internal recruitment. So now let us come to the impact now of internal recruitment. Impact of internal recruitment. Now we are first going to start by the advantages. We are going to start by advantages. So the first advantage says it is cheaper to fill the post. It is cheaper to fill the post. Cheaper, faster, because staff already know the job. Staff already know what? They already know the job. So it is cheaper to fill the post. Placement is easy as management knows the employee's skills, personality, experience, and strength. So we're talking about what? A placement. Now that placement is easy. It is very easy because already the management knows the employee skills. Like we are saying, the placement is easy as management knows the employee skills, personality, experience, and strengths. So it means employer already knows employee strengths and weakness. So that is why the placement is going to be easy. For example, a manager promotes a trusted team leader because he knows that person. That is what we mean. So also it provides opportunities for career paths. It provides opportunities for career paths within the business. So staff see chances for growth. So it means the staff are going to see what chances for growth. Example, an intern becomes a full-time accountant. You see, that is why we are saying it provides opportunities for career paths. Then it also, again, the employee already has understanding of how business operates. Training is not always necessary. Employee already understand the business. So less training needed. Less training needed because the employee already has an understanding of how business operates. So the training, it means it's not going to be that much. Less training needed. For example, a stock controller becomes a warehouse manager quickly. You see, that's how easy it is. It also reduces chances of losing employees. Chances of losing employees as future career prospects are available. Staff stay with the staff are going to stay with the business. Staff stay with if they see promotion. They stay if they see promotion opportunities. So it means workers don't resign because of promotions are possible. Then it further says detailed, reliable information can be obtained from the employee's records. That's detailed, reliable information can be obtained from the employee records. So that is when you're talking about the performance history is already available. The performance history is already available. Example, he shall check past appraisal scores before promoting. So you see there is what data available. There is a history that is already available. Before he can make a promotion, he just check the past appraisal scores. So that is that. So like we have said, these are the impacts. It means now we are to talk of internal recruitment. It means now we have to talk about the negative side of this method. So we are talking about negative or disadvantage of internal recruitment. So the promotion of employee could cause resentment among other employees. So the promotion of an employee could cause what? Resentment among the employees. Others may feel overlooked. They may feel overlooked. So you see, that the resentment that we're talking about, they may feel that jealous. Why is Paul promoted and then you're still having the same skills? We even arrived at the same time. Why is he promoted and then me, I'm left? That's a resentment that we are saying it will cause that. That's a negative side of this type of uh, recruitment. That is two clerks compete, but only one gets promoted. You see, that's where the resentment is going to come. Also, the number of applicants from which to choose is limited. Is what? Limited to existing staff only. So it means you are limited because you are only to look for the current employees that you are having as an organization. So that is that. So that is why we say you are limited. So when you are limited, it means now you don't have a large pool to choose from. So you're only limited to the only two current staff because only current staff are considered. For example, a company has only 3 employees with basic IT skills. So it means you are forced to only to choose from those 3. So you see that this what you are trying to say. It is possible to promote certain employees who do not really have required skill for the job. It is possible to promote certain employees who do not really have what the required skill for the new job. So you may find yourself with unqualified promotions. You may do what you call unqualified promotion. Some staff may not be ready for higher roles. Example, a receptionist promoted to HR officer without HR skills. You see what is that? So that's what you mean. It may close the door for new ideas from outside. It may close the door to new ideas from outsiders. Meaning to say, lack of fresh ideas. Lack of fresh ideas. That is that. No input from outside talent. You see? So business is going to miss new, let's say we're talking about marketing. Business misses new marketing strategy from external experts because you're only looking for eternally the current employees that your business is with. The business has spent more money on training and developing existing employees on a new position. That is extra training cost. So promoted staff may need extra development. So there will be extra cost. For example, supervisor promoted but must attend leadership training. That incurs the business cost. Employees who are not promoted may feel demotivated. That is true. We are talking about demotivation of non-promoted employees. Others may feel discouraged. So the staff morale drops when only one employee gets promoted. Hope we are together on that. So now let us move on to external recruitment. Let us move on to external recruitment. So, like as it says, external recruitment refers to the use of external sources to advertise a vacancy outside the business. So, advertise the vacancy outside the business. So, now we are on sources of external recruitment. We are talking about recruitment agencies. So, we can make use of the agencies who are going to be a link between the employer as well as the client, the employee. Printed media can as well be what? One of the sources of external recruitment, where we can make use of flyers, you can make use of newspapers to advertise what? The vacancy. Also electronic media, whereby you can now advertise it on radio, on television. Social media, as you are even social network, Facebook, WhatsApp, we can go via internet, business website, and walk-ins as well. So those are the external recruitment. So those are the sources of the external recruitment. So now let us move on to other sources of external recruitment. We are talking about the headhunting. We are talking about professional associations, networking, educational training institutions, posters like billboards, just outside the business. So those are the sources of the external recruitment. So don't confuse the sources of internal recruitment with the sources of the external recruitment. So now we are on the impact of external recruitment, advantages and disadvantages of recruiting externally. So now we're going to start with positive or advantages. It says new candidates bring new ideas into the business. New candidates bring new ideas into the outsiders may introduce innovation. The outsiders may introduce innovation. Example, a new marketing officer brings creative campaigns. So you see that this is why we are saying new candidates bring new ideas. There is a large pool of candidates to choose from. Large pool of candidates to choose from. More people to choose from. So here we're talking about more people to choose from. More people to choose from. So, example, 200 applicants respond to a job advertisement. So it means you have that pool, large pool that you can choose the best out of those. You are not limited like when you are recruiting internally. There is a better chance of getting suitable candidate with the required skills. There is a better of getting what suitable candidates with the required skills. So that is a better chance of it's a better chance of finding qualified candidates. Skills and experience already available. So skills and experience already available. So that is that. Like if you are hiring IT technician with 5 years experience, you see, that is that. So we're saying there is a better chance of getting suitable candidates with required skills, qualifications, competence, who do not need much training and development, which reduces what? Cost. Because these people, they come with experience. So there is no need for you to go to intensive training with them. Already they are experienced. So that can reduce what? The cost of the business. The business is not going to incur more expenses on such employees. It may help business to meet affirmative action of BBBEE targets. So it allows business to diversify. It allows business to diversify workforce. It allows business to diversify workforce. Examples, hiring from underrepresented groups to meet compliance. So that is that. It minimizes conflict amongst the current employees who may have applied for the post. So it minimizes conflicts among the staff. No jealousy since the candidate is from outside. So there will be there will be no resentment as the employee comes from outside. So the employees are not going to feel overlooked when an outsider is hired. Hope we are together. So now let us come to the drawback, the negative side, disadvantage of this type of method, whereby we are recruiting externally. So we are told that external sources can be expensive, e.g. recruitment agents fees. You have to pay those agents. That is that. Advertising, agents fees and interviews cost money. They cost money. You might find yourself paying 50,000 to recruitment agency. So you see, that is that. Also, the selection process may not be effective and an incompetent candidate may be chosen. So that is a risk of hiring incompetent candidates. CVs and interviews may not reflect reality. You see, that is that. Candidate can lie about qualifications. So you may find yourself with someone who is not going to deliver at workplace, whereby you find yourself with incompetent candidate. Because of what? Of that. Information on CVs may not be reliable, like we've said. Unreliable CV information may contain false details. People lie on CVs. So that is another disadvantage of recruiting externally. The requirement process is more expensive as background checks must be conducted. The requirement process is more expensive. So we're talking about the long process because you have to do what? You have to do those screening and background checks. They take time. They take time. Example, vacancy takes 3 months to fill because now you have to do background checks and stuff like that. So that consumes time as you have to do those background checks. So they are even expensive. New candidates generally take longer to adjust to a new work environment. New candidate takes longer to adjust, slower adjustment. We're talking about the slower adjustment to the workplace. New hires need time to adapt. We know that they need what? Time to adapt. So, for example, new employees takes weeks to understand company systems. You see? Now it further on says in-service training may be needed, which decreases productivity during the time of training. So in-service training may still be required. Even skilled workers need induction, we know very well. So a new engineer trained on company's machinery. So that is going to reduce the productivity during that time of training. Many unsuitable applications can slow down the selection process. So they may increase productivity during training because too many applications slow down what? The process. Too many applications is going to slow down the process. Screening large number takes effort. HR struggles to process 500 applications. So that's what it means. So now let us move on to the selection procedure. Let us move on to selection procedure. So now we are under selection, whereby we are going to talk about selection procedure. Selection procedure. So with selection procedure, it says determine the assessment criteria. Determine the assessment criteria on which selection will be based. Determine what? The selection criteria. That is whereby now you're going to decide what is needed. You're going to decide what is needed. Decide what is needed. For example, candidate must have diploma in HR. So that is that. You are determine the assessment criteria. Also, it further on says applicants must submit the application forms. So we have to receive what? Application forms. For example, 50 people apply online. So that is that, whereby we are to receive application. We are to receive applications. So that is that. Sort the received documents. Sort the received documents according to the selection criteria. So here we are sorting what? The applications. Now we are sorting what? The applications. For example, HR filters out unqualified applicants. So that's when you're sorting them. You're sorting what? Applications. Screen which applications meet the minimum job requirements and separate this from the rest. So now you are screening what? You screen CVs. You screen CVs. You're going to screen the CVs, whereby now only those with 2+ years experience are shortlisted. That's what it means. The preliminary interviews are conducted if many suitable applications were received. So we conduct preliminary interviews if there were many suitable applications that were received. So preliminary interviews and test. Example, applicants completed skill test. This is whereby now the applicants are going to complete what? Skills test. Reference checks should be made to verify the contents of CV. Easy conduct previous employers to check work experience. So this is what the HR now can phone previous employers to confirm work history of the candidate. That is that. Compile a short list of potential candidates identified. Short list candidates, now we're talking about where right now. You're compiling a list of the potential candidates identified. The example, 5 candidates selected for final interview. That is that. Shortlisted candidates may be subject to various types of selection tests, easy skills test. So that is that. That is a final interview. Candidates are interviewed by a manager. Invite shortlisted candidates for an interview. Here we are talking about what? The final interview. Candidates are interviewed by the manager. A written offer is made to the selected candidates. We are talking about the job offer now. We are talking about the job offer. For example, the best candidate is offered the position. So it also said, inform unsuccessful applicants about the outcome of their application. So you inform even those who are unsuccessful. So you send what? A regret letters as HR to those who are unsuccessful. So hope we are together. Now we are moving on to screening now. Screening as part of the selection procedure. Screening as part of selection procedure. So screening as part of selection procedure. So that is that. So when you're talking about the screening, that is a filtering out applicants who don't meet what? The requirements. When you're talking about what? A screening. We are talking about whereby now we are filtering applicants. We are filtering out applicants who don't meet requirements. Who don't meet requirements. That's when you're talking about what? The screening. Example, you reject an applicant for driver position who has no license. So that's what it means. So as it says, check application documents against the requirement of the job. Candidates who meet the minimum requirements are separated from others. Do background and credit reference checks of applicants who qualify for the job. Prepare a short list of suitable candidates after you screen, after screening. So that is that. So now let us move on. Now we are moving on to the purpose of the interview. Purpose of the interview. That's where we are now. Purpose of the interview. So it says, it obtains information about the strengths and weakness of each candidate. So it is through the interview that you are going to know the strength and the weakness of the candidate, because we are not going to rely only on the applications, on the CVs only, but that oral interview is going to help us to know if this is the right person to fill in the post. It helps the employer in making informed decisions about the most suitable candidate. So it helps in recruiting the right person for the post. It matches the information provided by the applicant to the job requirement. So you're going to be able to match the information that was provided by the applicant now with what? With the questions that we'll be asking him physically. It creates an opportunity where information about the business and applicant can be exchanged. So that is during the interview, that we can be able to exchange the business information with the applicant. It determines candidate suitability for the job. Also, it evaluates the skills and personal characteristics of the applicant. So that is the purpose for us to go for an interview. That is the reason why, or that is the benefit or importance of interview. So the role of interviewer before interview, the role that must be played by the interviewer before the interview. Before interview, the interviewer should develop a core set of questions based on the skills required. So he must make sure that he is going to prepare the questions that he's going to ask the interviewee. So those questions must be based on the skills that are required for the post. Check the application of every candidate for anything that may needed to be explained. So we have to go through those applications and try to find out where the clarity is needed, so that during the interview you are going to ask for that clarification. Book and prepare the venue for the interview. So that is the role that must be played by the interviewer to make sure that he's going to book the venue where the interview is going to be conducted. Set the interview date and ensure that all interviews take place on the same date. So set the interview date and make sure that the interviews are going to take place on the same date. That's that. Inform all shortlisted candidates about the date and place of the interview. So you must make sure that you're going to make aware the shortlisted about where the interview is going to take place. So that is very important, and as well as time as well. Plan the program for the interview and determine the time that should be allocated to each candidate. So if they're going to be given 10 minutes, that should apply to every candidate. No one is going to be given 10 minutes and the other one 5. No. Notify all the panel members conducting the interview about the date, place of the interview. So it's not only the interviewees that you are going to notify about the place of the interview date, even the panel members that are going to be there in the interview. You are to make sure that you make them aware of the date and the place where the interview is going to take place. That's very important. So now you are on the role of interviewer and interviewee during the interview. So we are first going to start by the interviewer during the interview. So during the interviewer allocates the same amount of time to each candidate. Like I've said, that if they are given 10 minutes, let it apply to everyone, every candidate. Introduce members to the interviewee to the panel, to each candidate. So you introduce members of the interview panel to each candidate. So that is that. Make the candidates feel at ease. Try by all means that you welcome them. Make them feel at home. Explain the purpose of interview to the panel as well as to the interview. So it's very important as well. Record interviews response for the future references. So make sure that you're going to record. That is going to help even when you make what the probing questions, like we have said this and that and that. So It's very important to do what recruiting of what the interview responses. Do not mislead the candidate. Also, it's very important that you are not going to mislead the candidate. Avoid the discriminatory types of questions. Easy asking a female candidate about family planning. You see, make sure that you don't do such in the interview. Provide an opportunity for candidate to ask questions. So the candidates should have what time should be provided with time for questions where they will be seeking for clarity. Close the interview by thanking the candidate for attending the interview. So that is that. So now we are coming to the role of interviewee during the interview. The role of interviewee during the interview. So the interview should greet the interviewer by name with a solid handshake and friendly smile. So you must know the interviewer by the name to show much interested into that job. Listen carefully to the questions before responding. So make sure that you're going to pay heed to the questions before you can provide the response, before you can respond. Make an eye contact and have a good body language during the interview. Show confidence and have what? Positive attitude. Be inquisitive and show interest in the business. Ask clarity-seeking questions where you didn't understand. Try by all means to make sure that you're going to understand by asking the clarity-seeking question. Show respect and treat the interview with its due importance. Be honest about mistakes and explain how you dealt with it. Know your strength and weakness and be prepared to discuss it. So that is that. So this is the end of the presentation. Make sure that you are going to share with others, and please don't forget to hit the subscription button. Thank you very much.